Hi, my name is Veronica Ramirez, and my pronouns are she and her, and I am a member of the Octogatos here at GitHub. I am so excited to be joined by our panel today. For the panel, we'll be exploring the role of intersectionality and identity in the panel and how identity has informed the career trajectories of the panelists. Our four panelists will introduce themselves, and then once that's complete, we'll jump into the first question. So for introductions, for our panelists, if you can state your name, your pronouns, a quick intro, and then we will kick things off. So I will start with Kat.
Hi, my name is Kat Marchán. My pronouns are they, them. I am a senior software engineer at Microsoft. I am also formerly the architect of the NPM CLI. And I'm originally from Puerto Rico. Did I miss something?
Great, thank you. Gabby.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gabby. I go with the pronouns she and her. I'm originally from Mexico, and I'm currently a data scientist at Atlassian, but 3 months ago, I was a data scientist at GitHub.
Awesome. And Lace.
Hello, my name is Layshi Curbelo. I'm from Puerto Rico. My pronouns is she and her. And also I'm the host and producer of Come and See podcast, a podcast about design, communications, art, and design.
Great. And Zio.
Hi, my name is Xiomara. I'm from Puerto Rico. I usually go by Zio. My pronoun is her and she. I'm a computer scientist, and I've been writing software for the last 5 years. And I'm also a co-founder on CTL Bookstuff, a mobile application to recommend books to avid readers.
Awesome. Some exceptional talent here. So excited for this. Great. So I'm going to just start things off with our first question. Pretty basic, but how did you get started in technology, and how has your identity influenced your work in the tech industry? And Kat will take it away with our first question.
Hi. So I didn't study computer science. I actually studied film. I came to the States to study film and linguistics. And I graduated right into the 2008, 2007 recession. So I had a lot of time on my hands. I didn't have a job. It was impossible to find a job. And I realized my last year of college that, oh, maybe I'll try something different. Maybe I'll pick up a new skill that's different from film stuff. And I started studying, and I was like, why didn't I get a degree in this instead? But it was already too late. And then I spent 2 years just doing open source work by myself. I remember joining GitHub like a few months after it launched, and I had no idea what it was. Had no idea how to use Git or anything. And you know, I was doing open source for a while, and I didn't really want to do this as a job, but someone offered me a job as a QA person, and I just kind of went from there. And my career, I've been doing this for like 12, 13 years. So I've been at it for a while, and I'm very lucky that that first place like gave me a position that eventually led to me doing software.
Great, thank you. Zio.
I grew up in the center of Puerto Rico with very little access to technology or internet for that matter. I'm the third born in my family and the first one to go to college. To give you an idea, I didn't have my own computer until college, and I wasn't aware of software engineering as a career option. In college, I started by studying architecture, and then I eventually switched to biology. And it was sort of trying everything I found interesting, trying to find my place. And it wasn't until my junior year when I discovered computer science. I took one class, and I really liked the practical aspect of it. So I stayed there, and I finished my computer science degree. And like 4 years ago, I think. And since then, I've been deeply committed to like share the things I've learned during my tech journey by giving back to my community in different ways, by being a mentor, organizing tech events, starting a nonprofit for women in tech here in the island, and just trying to make tech education a little bit more accessible to people like me. So I'd say that's how my identity and my upbringing specifically have influenced my work in the tech industry.
Thank you. Gabby.
I wish I had a better story, but I sort of ended in technology for similar reasons as Kat and Theo. When I graduated, I also graduated during the recession. So because of that, I just kept studying. And I initially, after graduating, getting a major in chemical engineering, I decided to get a master's in finance, of all things. And my heart really was not into it. And I was lucky enough to have a really good professor that was starting a joint program at USF for MBAs in analytics. And one thing led to another. And I really just ended up focusing on analytics, and data science was just starting to be a thing. So the little programming skills that I had from undergrad just like popped up, and instead of C++, it was Python, and then it was SQL. And I got my first job in marketing analytics, and I just kept growing and taking every single opportunity that I had. If someone asked for something, I would say, yes, I'll do it. And then I went like in the background to figure out how to actually do it. And 6 years later, I am a established data scientist, and I'm now lucky enough to be able to work with people much smarter than I am and learn from people that come from all different backgrounds that are also into tech for X and Y reasons.
Great. And Lace.
I feel really related with Gabi about it. My story is something similar. I started in design and tech basically by chasing opportunities. I was super secure that I really love art and I love culture, and I started my entire career doing event productions. But it was something that I was like missing out. I really want to opportunities to expand a little bit more the things that I was looking like doing more modern productions in terms of events. And then I landed on a co-working space that gave me the opportunity to start in design. It was like, you need a designer? Of course I will do it. So that's why I'm basically chasing opportunities every time that I have the opportunity to do something different. I will not say no. I think we can learn from different things, no matter what could be. So that's why I started basically chasing opportunities. And yeah, I think it was an amazing starting point. I was not expected at all, but here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Awesome. Great. Thank you. So next question is, what is your advice, thoughts, or any statements on being successful in the tech industry as a member of the Latinx community? And Lace, I'll actually have you start this one.
Great, awesome. I think taking from the same that I talked previously, basically chasing opportunities. I think sometimes we are a little bit nervous of the people how we'll perceive our ideas, and I think we need to like jump to that big pool of sharks and take advantage of the opportunities and just like showcase your work. Definitely like just expose yourself and be in the industry, collaborate with different communities, and start like doing talks like this. This kind of opportunities give you a great opportunity to learn, and definitely that is a thing that I would recommend. Just expose and try any opportunity that you can take advantage of it in order to learn.
Great, thank you. And Kat.
I mean, obviously I'm kind of similar on that end. I've been trying to think of what is some good advice, and I've received some really kind of questionable advice in the past of my career. I think that the most important thing is to put yourself out there, to take opportunities as you can. Actually, I think the best advice that I can give someone to be successful in this is to not let yourself be abused. You do not have to have a job that treats you poorly. I know that, you know, minoritized folks tend to be on the wrong end of the stick on that one. And know that you are worth more than the paycheck that they're giving you. So, you know, chase those opportunities, but realize that you can have your own boundaries too, and you don't need them to succeed. You can leave a job that treats you poorly or does questionable things or whatever, you know.
Great, that's resonates so much. Thank you, Kat. Gabby.
Yes, and yes to that. I would say first find your people. Your people doesn't mean only Latinx. There's, despite everything that we're seeing right now in the world, there's a lot of people that are very interested in you, in your background, and ultimately what you can bring to the table. A very clear example is in data science, these algorithms are OG algorithms are terrible because they were built by the same type of people. So ethical companies right now are looking for Latinx, Black, uh, everyone that's not white, basically, women. So I highly recommend selling yourself on that because that's a very big thing that you can bring to the table. And absolutely know that as much as they are interviewing you, you're also interviewing them. And while times might be tight and it's important to have stability and a job, like put yourself first always, and know that like there's some hard works that are worth doing and some hard works that are definitely not worth doing. So being very clear on what you're able to bring and how you want to be treated.
Love that. Thank you, Gabby. And Zio.
Yeah, I'm definitely 100% agree with what you guys have already said. I cannot, like, I believe that we Latinos act based on our history and upbringing. And in my opinion, we're very community driven. So I think that's a very powerful when it comes to being successful in this industry. So, for example, I often think of my success as a small milestone for other people in our community. So, for them to see that we could have a mission driven career and that they can sort of identify with our journey. It's like they say, you cannot be what you cannot see. So being able to pave the way or open some doors to like the same way other people in our community have done it for us. And if you have to knock some doors, then you'll learn from those challenges in the process and then relay that back. So I think that's a really powerful quality for our community. And I think that's the way we actually have been able to make some progress in the minority and technology conversations as we continue to try to move the needle little by little.
Wonderful. Thank you. I hope folks are taking notes because it's all really good. Great. So moving on to the next question. The tech industry has grown exponentially, especially in the past few years, specifically in Latin America. What would you like to see happen as that growth continues? And Zio, I'll start with you.
Yay, sure. Well, I'd like to see Latin America, or in this case, Puerto Rico, which is I'm more familiar with, being more integrated with the digital world. The representation of minorities in technology not only ensures a healthy society, but it's economic well-being as well. So, and technology is shaping our world and creating our future interactions. So we should play a role in it. So I like to see more of that, of us being more integrated with the digital world. There's so much we can do here in Puerto Rico, for example, in terms of digitalizing our services. There's a lot of that civic development we could exploit with technology. And we are already doing some of that through Code for Puerto Rico, which Lace could talk more about that if she wants to. But those are the examples that make me think that's possible, that we can do a lot more. So that's I like to see more of that from Puerto Rico and Latin America.
Great, thank you. And Lace.
Well, that being said, Xiomara, yeah, definitely. I think we can start like practicing more tech, actually doing civic work, like doing volunteer projects around how we can perform even better on our services in terms of communities and in terms of the service for the society. Yeah, Code for Puerto Rico give us all the opportunity as volunteers, like to expose our talent and also help the communities to even grow for even more great opportunities. But also, I would say that I would love to see um, more content in Spanish, more content related to the Latin community. Like we need like not only the reference out there from Europe, from United States, also like the great content and all the educational aspect and basically resources in our own language. And I think this is something that we have a lot to see. We have a lot of opportunities there, and we need it. We need it.
Great, thank you. Kat.
I am in a strange position because I left the island when I was 17, and I have not really been in Latin America. But I know that from what I've seen, what I'd like to see from Latin America is more domestically grown talent, more domestically grown product, um, more domestically grown entrepreneurship, and hopefully more ethical entrepreneurship than we have in the Bay Area, in Silicon Valley. Take that and learn from that. And I'd really like to see like developers in Latin America being paid what they're worth. Like the salaries in Latin America are not reflective of the quality and the value of the work that my colleagues out there put in, right? And I think it's a shame. I would also like it to not be so dependent on the U.S. as a target for income. Like I'd like Latin America to be more independent, more on its own, less reliant on at least one specific country.
Yeah, thank you. Gabby.
I'll be super brief because I completely agree with everything that's been said, but I actually pulled some stats that I hope are right. I can send my sources afterwards, but right now, or last time that I checked, which was this morning, about 73% of South America has access to internet. The quality varies a bunch, but that also means that probably that same percentage or even higher have access to a mobile phone. And if we're smart and act maybe a little faster than we are right now, we can capitalize on those two factors to a great extent, and ideally in an ethical way, and also in a way that allows for a healthy ecosystem to evolve, and that can also serve as a platform for very particular needs to each country, but also voting, for example. Like, why haven't we gotten on developing a very secure way of voting from your mobile phone? Or healthcare. Healthcare is such a big industry that had not been tapped in Latin America and is so needed. I'm very excited, but I also have this sense of urgency of, yes, we have all of this and we have so much talent. We just need to believe that we can actually get together and trigger these growth that can spur from the penetration that we have right now with mobile and internet.
Great, thank you. So thinking about the impacts on Latin America and in tech and from a global perspective, what are the short-term and maybe long-term impacts you see Latin America having on the tech industry globally? And Gabby, we'll start with you.
Following up maybe a little bit from what I last said, I think that Latin America could start leading on some spaces. Like, for example, Colombia is probably one of the most advanced countries when it comes to payments and fintech. Cuba has so much healthcare knowledge. So I'm fully aware that there's a lot of suffering in Latin America from the way that tech affects us and creates disparities on several ambits. But ideally, I would like to see positive impacts from the expertise that some countries or like even some specific startups have and could potentially reach global importance levels.
Great, thank you. And Lace.
Based on all the situation that have been happening of the COVID, I think people are more aware of the need of being more educated in terms of professional knowledge in technology. So they are taking advantage of webinars, they are taking advantage of different workshops. And I think technology and education has been a game changer for the industry, for different industry in general. And I think that is something that a short term it's impacting us right now, but in a long term, I think Latin America could have like a really great opportunity of sharing knowledge and sharing education in our language and expose ourselves more to the tech industry. That is really important.
Thank you. Kat.
Yeah, like I said, I see a lot right now in the short term of people working outsourcing work for the US. That's from my perspective. That's just like what I get to see from where I'm sitting. And like I said, I just like it to be more domestic. I think Gabriela's ideas, Gabby's ideas are great. I'd love to see like Latin America develop a reputation for good stuff rather than cheap labor. And I think we have it in us, right? We're perfectly talented. We have a lot of brilliant talent in Latin America, and I think it's just a matter of getting a reputation out there, you know, getting our work out there.
Great, thank you. And Zio.
Yeah, I totally agree. I can just add, something we've been seeing from in the island, for example, it's a lot of talent coming back to Puerto Rico, so it resonates with capitalizing on some markets and with our talent, locally. And they're having like better chances of getting a good job while being like closer to their family and also contributing to the local economy and tech ecosystem in general. So in the short term, I would like to see also like how that develops, how we don't necessarily need to relocate in order to have better career options, which was what happened like years ago, that we had to leave like a lot of our talent had to like leave the island to have better career options. So if that would translate into a greater impact locally in the long term, that would be amazing. And I would also love to see like a more startups like locally based, globally oriented, and see how we could use that to integrate ourselves in the global market. I think we can do that.
Great, thank you. The next question is more, and I think we've answered some of this already, but if there's anything additional you want to add, great. But specifically about the challenges that you maybe foresee in Latin America when it comes to the tech industry. So if anything, Zio, I'll throw it back to you if there's anything.
Sure, yeah. As Gabby said, our industry mostly only asks for internet connection and a computer, but again, not everyone has access to it. And also, as Lay said, the language barrier. English is unofficially the official language of the world, but not everyone is fluent in it. So although these days, like the rest of the world, but especially Latin America, have had to face like a lot of challenges. The big elephant in the room, COVID, and then the environmental changes, persistent inequality, to mention a few. That forced us to live in a constant state of uncertainty. So I think that's, for me, it's a challenge I personally feel like close to. Especially in Puerto Rico, we've had a lot of things like going on top of the like the elephant in the room, there's also like government instability, storms, earthquakes, and just a bunch of things we can't really control. But I prefer to see that uncertainty as an opportunity for creation, again, for bringing our perspective to the industry in order to be a part of that reconstruction of the industry that are being affected by those challenges we're all facing globally, sort of like a blank canvas, so to say. So that's I think that's doable.
Great, thank you. Gabby.
I agree with all of those. I would just add that some challenges that I foresee that hopefully turn out better than I'm imagining in my head are with the economic recession or semi-recession that we'll see after COVID. There might be some global rearrangement of who you can do trade with, tariffs and all of that. Like a good example of that is TikTok. So if we get those barriers or friction points when we're trying to develop, then it becomes harder. And then, for example, costs that are not localized. It's not the same to pay for hosting here in the States than paying for hosting in Puerto Rico or Mexico. You have to multiply it by the exchange rate, which, for example, for Mexican pesos right now is $1 equals 20 pesos, I think. So, like, you do the math, but cloud costs, if you're running very expensive algorithms because you have a top-notch products, but you require that in order for your product to be good, then that's a lot of things to consider that might be prohibiting. So hopefully, like there's some ethics that play around in the big wigs and the big people in tech that start localizing costs or somehow come up with a helping hand. Not a helping hand, but like just leveling the play field. I retract that. It's just leveling the playing field. Yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you, Gabby. Kat.
Yes to all. I think we have 4 people, but we all just kind of agree with each other. This is great. I think that the language barrier is actually really significant. I think it's really unfortunate that people need to learn English in order to consume a lot of the existing education and content that's out there. A lot of, yeah, like Xiomara said, I think that we just need to build up our collection of Spanish, develop a consistent Spanish, what do you call this? Language, just technical language that we all know and use, as opposed to like just using like loan words for everything that sometimes you need to know English to even understand. Yeah, I see a lot of perception when I've spoken in Latin America, which is another thing that I think we can do. We can make sure that we go to Latin America to speak and that we speak in Spanish, right? Or if you're in Brazil, speak Portuguese, or wherever. Like, just make sure to localize our content and generate it. Yeah, that's I've gotten a lot of feedback from people in Latin America that it's a very big challenge for them to maybe they don't speak Spanish, they don't speak English that well. And a lot of people feel very strongly that that's the only way to succeed. I don't believe so. And I don't want anyone to think that anymore. Like, I think that it's a matter of us getting to the point where we're independent enough and have enough content of our own that that's no longer a concern.
Great, thank you. And Lace.
Kat, thank you for saying that. Actually, in one moment of my life, I think that was my process of thought. For me, it was really hard to know English, and I taught myself speaking English because that was the only way that I think I was growing in the tech industry. And that's why for me it's so important, the educational material on the language. I think that's one of the biggest challenge, definitely. But also I would say the infrastructure. For example, here in Puerto Rico, it's really hard to have sustainable internet. It's really hard to have the correct equipment for in terms of education for kids that are learning from code or they are learning from design or for tech in general. But the most important thing I would say is like taking the opportunity to also travel and also connect with other countries because we are not alone. One of the great examples, I go to Cuba 2 years ago, and the infrastructure that they have, it's not so great in terms of a connection, but they do a lot of different things in terms of tech that is was really surprisingly doing with Bluetooth. And that is one of the things that came with design, creativity, how you can solve really deep problems with creativity. And I think I learned that because I just give the opportunity to myself to know another country how they do it. So I think in terms of Latin America in general, we need to like know how we do stuff so we can like start sharing knowledge and be better every time, basically. So yep.
Great, thank you. All right, we're gonna pivot a little bit, and the next question is there any upcoming tech that you're excited about? And Lace, we'll start with you.
In terms of incoming tech, definitely speech recognition software. I'm really advocate in terms of accessibility for people that need different accommodations. And this technology really blows my mind in terms like right now there's a great project from Google that it's working for people that have this kind of disability of stutter, how they can with different users understand the commands so they can record it and amplify that research to other people that needs this kind of service. So it's really surprising, and I really want to see even more technologies around speech recognition softwares.
Great, thank you. Zio.
I'm excited about any type of tech as a service. For example, artificial intelligence still being like a little bit more mainstream for other developers to sort of like being more accessible and easy to start using it. Or machine learning and any other technology that's still a little difficult to like get into it. So I'm excited about seeing like more integrations with that technology. But really, in my day-to-day, I'm also like excited about what's next for my team at Books Lab. Because we're a mobile-first startup, and we recently decided to start looking into the web. So that will mean incorporating different technologies to our current tech team. So I'm excited about that. But in general, just integrations and technology being more mainstream and accessible for other developers out there.
Great, thank you. Gabby.
I'm very, very interested in artificial intelligence and machine learning applied via open source to cost prohibiting services for populations. I'm going back again to the healthcare system just because I have it so present with everything that we're living right now. But a great example, and tiny, this is just like a taste that I got a few weeks back. I was lucky enough to edit a paper from the Journal of Open Source Software that was literally an adaptation of an algorithm that can detect stand up and sit down movements that are actually very strong signals to detect Parkinson's. So what they're doing is they're applying that to minimize the number of times that the patient has to go into the doctor's office, which costs a lot of money. So things like that get me super excited. And at the rate that we're going with machine learning and artificial intelligence, like my expectations to how we can apply it and to the number of things that we can apply it to drive costs down excites me a bunch.
Exciting. Kat.
I'm cheating a little because I have two, if that's okay. The first one is Rust. I think that Rust is it's a good time to be learning Rust. There's a lot of hiring going on. For example, at Microsoft, there's a lot of people getting trained in it. A lot of big companies that have big systems that rely a lot on C and C++ are starting to experiment with it, and it's a good time to make sure that you become one of the experts in the field, and there's a lot of opportunity that can build up from there. So I'm also just a Rust nerd. I'm sorry, I just really like it. The second thing is I am really excited about the developments around how open source is developed, particularly at how it's licensed, how it's produced, how it's sustained. There's a lot of work, part of it at GitHub itself with GitHub sponsors, but there's also various parties who are experimenting with new licensing mechanisms that, for example, allow the community to participate in the development, but still compensate, but still have a model that compensates the original authors and makes maintainers not just do a bunch of free labor for a bunch of large companies. You know, I'm looking forward to the model being flipped a little from this very open source model where everyone just uses open source and everyone just builds open source for free, and then only the large companies, only if you work for a large company do you get to work on open source yourself, right? I'm looking forward to moving out of that and into a more sustainable model that we're all experimenting with right now, myself included.
Great, thank you. Since we've got a little more time, I'm gonna throw in a bonus question. And Kat, I'll start with you, but what is one wish, like if you had that magic wand, that you have for the future of tech?
I would like us to have a system of evaluating the ethics of what we do. There's many industries that have actual binding mechanisms for evaluating and improving upon the ethics of the participant parties. And I think that sort of organization among us is overdue. I think we work too independently, and we just do a lot of stuff without really considering its effects, especially the stuff that like Gabby was talking about with all the machine learning and all that stuff. It's time that we really think hard about the impact of everything that we build, and not just do it because we're getting a paycheck, you know, and have some mechanism to say no, right? To say, hey, this central organization, it doesn't let me. This is not okay. This is not ethical. This is not appropriate. I think that that's like something I'm feeling very strongly about lately, is the idea of what we build and who we build it for. Yeah.
Thank you. Theo.
I think I wish that we all really have access to internet. I know probably, I mean, I would like to see like a more fair access to resources in general, but specifically the internet, and then see what can we build with that, you know, to be like in a more like, because I think we have a lot of people with willingness to be a part of the revolution that is technology, that we're rewriting things as we knew them before. So I would like to see that, like a more fair access to resources.
Okay, we've got a little bit of time left, so a little bit quickly. Lace.
I will still close the gap between like the salaries from women and men's. Like that is something that I wish that I can change definitely. Like everybody needs like equal opportunities if you are doing the same kind of work. So definitely close that gap and start thinking that we have talent and we have a lot of things that we can basically show in case, but being a man or a woman, or it's not something that would define your work. So basically close that gap.
Love that. Thank you. And Gabby.
Everything that was said before, and maybe just a little bit more of a better education that was available for everyone, that included tech from the beginning.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us and for sharing your knowledge. It is so appreciated. So thank you.